Okay. Hello. Good afternoon. This is our 2 o'clock focus for levels 1, 2, and 3. My name is Melissa, and I am from Australia, and I'm a teacher down at Myers in Naples. Welcome, and please introduce yourself below. Our focus today is food. In this focus activity, adverbs of frequency, food, and talking about habits. Put the adverbs of frequency in the correct order. Never, sometimes, usually, often, always, and hardly ever. Put them in the correct order. Always, oops. Always, usually, usually, often, often, sometimes, sometimes, hardly ever, hardly ever, hardly ever, and never. And never. My lunch. Some examples. With the verb eat. I always eat mozzarella. I usually eat salad. I usually eat salad. I often eat pasta. I often eat pasta. sometimes eat soup. I hardly ever eat fish. I hardly ever eat fish. And I never eat bacon. I never eat bacon. And you? Some examples? With an adverb of a frequency. I always eat mozzarella. I usually eat salad. I often eat pasta. I sometimes eat soup. I hardly ever eat fish. And I never eat bacon. And you? Some food and drinks. You can practice pronunciation with me. Eggs, tomatoes, onions, cheese, juice, potatoes, coffee, apples, tea, chocolate, bread, beans, and pasta. Repeat some difficult ones. Juice, juice, and chocolate, chocolate. We have 4 categories: drink, fruit, vegetables, or other. Pronunciation: vegetables and fruit. Let's see. Eggs are other. Tomatoes are a fruit. Onions are vegetables. Cheese is other. Cheese, excuse me, the category for cheese is dairy. Dairy. Dairy category is the foods made with the milk. Cheese, milk, yogurt. These are dairy. Juice is a drink. Potatoes are vegetables. Coffee is a drink. Apples are fruit. Tea is a drink. Chocolate is other. Bread is other. And pasta is other. In the picture here, I can also see apples. Apples are a fruit. I think I can see a pear. Pears are a fruit. Also, I can see capsicums, or in American English, peppers. In Italian, I think it's pepperone. Okay. Capsicums are vegetables. Also, in the bag, I can see lettuce, not salad, lettuce. Lettuce is a vegetable. I can see a bottle of wine. A bottle of wine. And a bottle of oil. I can see also some broccoli. Broccoli is a vegetable. I can see some carrots, and carrots are a vegetable. And I can also see some grapes. Grapes are a fruit. Breakfast. What foods do you eat for breakfast? An example conversation. What do you usually eat for breakfast? For breakfast, I usually eat fruit and yogurt. What do you usually drink for breakfast? For breakfast, I usually drink tea. Sometimes I drink juice. I never drink coffee. And you? Let's practice. What do you usually eat for breakfast? For breakfast, I usually eat muesli and yogurt. For breakfast, I usually eat muesli and yogurt. And what do you usually drink for breakfast? For breakfast, I usually drink coffee. Sometimes I drink milk, but I never drink tea. For breakfast, I usually drink coffee. Sometimes I drink milk. I never drink tea. And you, for breakfast? What are some common breakfast foods? In English culture, toast, eggs, bacon, sausages, tomatoes, and cereal. These are some popular breakfast foods in English culture. Toast, eggs, bacon, sausages, tomatoes, cereal, and beans. Beans. And common drinks for breakfast: coffee, tea, juice, and milk. It's also possible to have chocolate milk, strawberry milk, banana milk, and spearmint milk. This is common drinks for breakfast. Now, lunch. What foods do you eat for lunch? What time do you usually eat lunch? I usually eat lunch at 1 o'clock. What do you usually eat for lunch? I always eat pasta for lunch. Who do you eat lunch with? I often eat lunch with my colleagues. Today, I have a strange lunch. Let's practice some responses. What time do you usually eat lunch? I usually eat lunch at, where is it, that one? I usually eat lunch at 1:30. At 1:30, sorry, lunch. The spelling is not correct. Lunch. I usually eat lunch at 1:30. What do you usually eat for lunch? I usually eat a salad for lunch. Sometimes I eat a sandwich for lunch. I usually eat a salad for lunch. Sometimes I eat a sandwich for lunch. Today, I am having a fruit smoothie for lunch. This is a fruit smoothie. Fruit together to make a drink. It's a fruit smoothie. Who do you eat lunch with? I usually eat lunch alone. Sometimes I eat lunch with my colleagues. I usually eat lunch alone. Sometimes I eat lunch with my colleagues. My colleagues. Some common lunch foods in the English culture. Sandwiches, salads. In winter, maybe soup. Common foods for lunch in English culture are sandwiches and salads. Usually, lunch is a healthy meal, light and healthy. Very different from Italy. For me, from Australia, to have pizza for lunch is something strange. And now, dinner. What do you eat for dinner? What time do you usually eat dinner? I never eat dinner before 8 o'clock. What do you usually eat for dinner? I usually eat meat and vegetables. I hardly ever eat fish. Who do you eat dinner with? I eat dinner with my family. Let's practice some responses. What time do you usually eat dinner? I usually eat dinner at at 8:30. I usually eat dinner at 8:30. What do you usually eat for dinner? I often eat meat and vegetables or pasta. I hardly ever eat rice. I often eat meat and vegetables or pasta. I hardly ever eat rice. And who do you eat dinner with? I eat dinner with my boyfriend. I eat dinner with my boyfriend. what are some common dinner foods in English culture? Very similar to Italian, I think. Pasta, soup, hamburgers, pizza, meat, fish, chicken, and vegetables. These are common dinner foods in English culture. Okay. Eating habits. A habit is something you usually do. A habit is something you usually do. So an eating habits is about what you usually eat. Okay. For your vocabulary in the pictures, we can see bananas and going across, lemons, I think, then apricots, oranges, grapes, strawberries, grapefruits. I can't tell if maybe these are lemons. And then peaches. All fruits. So, eating habits. What foods do you usually eat for? And when do you usually eat? Example, for breakfast, I usually eat fruit and yogurt. What do you usually drink for breakfast? For breakfast, I usually drink tea. Some example questions and responses. What do you usually eat for breakfast? What do you usually eat for breakfast? I usually eat cereal. I never eat eggs. I usually eat cereal. I never eat eggs. What do you usually eat for lunch? What do you usually eat for lunch? I usually eat a sandwich. I never eat pasta for lunch. I usually eat a sandwich. I never eat pasta for lunch. What do you usually eat for dinner? What do you usually eat for dinner? I usually eat meat and vegetables. I hardly ever eat fish. I usually eat meat and vegetables. I hardly ever eat fish. Okay. Now questions and responses for drinks. What do you usually drink for breakfast? What do you usually drink for breakfast? I usually drink coffee. I hardly ever drink tea for breakfast. I usually drink coffee. I hardly ever drink tea for breakfast. What do you usually drink for lunch? What do you usually drink for lunch? I always drink water. I never drink soft drink for lunch. I always drink water. I never drink soft drink for lunch. Soft drink is a drink like Coca-Cola, Fanta, lemonade, etc. This is soft drink. And what do you usually drink for dinner? What do you usually drink for dinner? I often drink water for dinner. I sometimes drink wine. I often drink water for dinner. I sometimes drink wine. And you? What do you usually eat and drink? What are your eating habits? Speculate. Speculate is to imagine. Imagine from the picture. Example. What does he usually eat? He in A. I think he usually eats chocolate for breakfast. I think he usually drinks cola for dinner. Cola is like soft drink. Coca-Cola. What about for B? What does she usually eat? What does she usually eat? Speculate. I think she usually eats fruit for breakfast. I think she usually eats fruit for breakfast. I think she usually drinks water for lunch. I think she usually drinks water for lunch. And I think she often eats salad for dinner. I think she often eats salad for dinner. Oh, and let's look at picture C. Okay. For C, we'll use they for the plural. I think they usually eat toast for breakfast because toast is simple. I think they usually eat toast for breakfast. And I think they usually drink juice and coffee for breakfast. I think they usually drink juice and coffee for breakfast. I think they usually eat sandwiches for lunch. I think they usually eat sandwiches for lunch. And dinner? I think they usually eat pasta for dinner. I think they usually eat pasta for dinner. I think they often drink soft drink for dinner. I think they often drink soft drink for dinner. Okay. Now, just before we stop, let's remember our adverbs of frequency. In the correct order, the strongest adverb of frequency is always. For example, I always drink coffee for breakfast. Then usually. For example, I usually eat a salad for lunch. Often. I often eat meat and vegetables for dinner. Sometimes. Example, I sometimes eat fruit for breakfast. Hardly ever. Hardly ever. I hardly ever drink wine for lunch. I hardly ever drink wine for lunch. And never. I never eat bacon for breakfast. Never. I never eat bacon for breakfast. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining our focus. The next new focus will be at 3 o'clock. Okay, tune in at 3 o'clock to this channel for the next focus for level 1 to 3. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Bye.